I want you to know that being dysregulated, it's not a bad thing, okay? It's a sign that we are human and it will happen, okay? The issue becomes when we stay dysregulated. And that's where all the problems come in because our body is sensing the stress, okay? And there wasn't a invader. There wasn't a bear, there wasn't a tiger, but my body was stressed as if there was. Okay. So remember, and I've talked about this on other episodes, that our body doesn't know the difference between that bear coming after us or the stress or overwhelm that's in our life. Welcome to the podcast, The Whole and Complete Woman, where we provide practical tips and strategies for achieving your health, wealth, and relationship goals and desires. Yes, I said desires because God does not put desires in our heart just to tease us. So it is important to me that you are empowered with the tools and resources to not only fulfill your goals, but to create a life that you love and create a legacy because the people who come after us, they are depending on us to pave the way. So I congratulate you for being here. Not only will today's content help your future self, but also those that come behind us. And that looks different for everyone, which I love. So before I dive into today's topic, I want to give you one quick announcement. I am speaking at Redefining Diabetes Summit. It is the week of August 12th and it is a virtual summit. So you are able to attend. It is free. Go ahead and click the link in the show notes and you can go ahead and register for that event. I'm going to be speaking about diabetes and its relationship to hormones. There's lots of other amazing speakers that will be there. So you'll be able to enjoy all of that content and hear us speak and really be able to educate you or your family members. Share this information about diabetes. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. Did you know that 50% of the time, the first sign of a heart attack is the heart attack? The other 50% of the time, there's the beginning signs. They're called beginnings, signs, and symptoms. There was something off going on. Okay. But mainly 50% of the time, the first sign of the heart attack is the heart attack. Heart disease has been shown to start in our youth 20 to 40 years before it's diagnosed. Cancer has been shown to start 15 to 20 years before it's diagnosed. Alzheimer's has been shown to start 30 to 50 years before it's diagnosed. Diabetes can start as pre-diabetes. And right now, 88 million Americans, that's 1 in 3 American adults, have pre-diabetes, and 84% of them don't even know they have it. 2,300 people die from heart disease every single day. That's one person every 38 seconds. And right now, 1 in 4 kids ages 17 to 24 are too obese or too heavy to join the United States military. And I know that I'm a hormone doctor, but this really bothers me, okay? And these are things that I look at on all of my clients, all of my patients, what's going on with their cardiac markers, what's going on with their blood sugar regulation, like all of those types of things are really, really important. And the thing is that stress weakens our immune system. It sends our adrenal glands into overdrive and it disrupts our hormones. So it's all very much connected. According to New York's American Institute of Stress, 90% of all American adults experience high levels of stress 1 to 2 times a week, and 1 in 4 of all American adults are experiencing crushing levels of stress nearly every single day. And this results in unhealthy coping patterns. So, going for the sugar, the carbs, caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, drugs, overspending, overworking, procrastination. And there seems to be no end to the unhealthy ways that people can cope. And these only happen to add to the problems here, okay? So remember, stress weakens your immune system. It sends your adrenal glands into overdrive and it disrupts your hormones. So, what we're going to talk about today is the stress that's currently in my life. We're going to talk about fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. So, we've talked about fight and flight, but you may not have heard of freeze and fawn before. We're going to talk about that, which hormones get affected, and then also in the moment techniques, okay? Things that you can do to pull yourself out of it, okay? When you are stressed, when you are overwhelmed, when you do not know what to do, we're going to talk about the different things that you can like immediately do to like get yourself back in alignment, get yourself feeling good again, okay? And we're going to talk about some of the things that I did even today. Today, I was so stressed out. I was going to do this podcast on hormones. I was like, this is our last episode for season 1. Yes, we've gotten here. It's been such an amazing journey. And I was going to end it with hormones, hormone testing. You know, I'm always like, test, don't guess. Let's find out exactly what's going on inside your body. No need for you to be guessing on what supplements you need to take or what exercises you need to do or what kind of food you need to take or eat. None of that. We can find all of that out by testing, right? So I was going to go all into that. That's going to be season 2. I will do that. I promise. But I really just felt led to talk about stress today because I was just so stressed. And the thing is that this week I've had so many things going on. And this morning I got up, I had an interview with someone who's going to be on season 2. So we did our prep call and everything like that. I had another meeting. And then my brother was in town with his girlfriend, who's a close friend of mine, and they were leaving unexpectedly a little early. So they went on their way. And then I just came in the house and I was just sitting down on the couch and I just felt like overwhelmed and sad, and I felt a little angry and I just didn't feel like myself. And then I just picked up my phone and I just started scrolling social media, and that didn't help anything at all. You know, I rarely get on social media and just feel amazing after I get off, you know. So I was getting agitated. I was seeing things, you know, it's um politics right now and everybody's arguing with each other, and I was just seeing some of those things, and it was agitating me as well. And then I was just sitting there and I was thinking about all the things that I needed to do. And I was just thinking about life and the world. And I'm very much an empath. So when other people have things going on in their lives and I find out about it, I literally like feel it. You know, I feel it in my heart. I feel what they're going through. And with my family being in town, my brother's here, and then also my mother's here with my father, and just hearing updates about what's going on in the family. And sometimes there's some things that are completely out of our control and we wish they were within our control. And I was feeling the things of that. There's some things just when family is around, I got triggered about that I'm working through. Our air conditioning went out this week. It's 110 degrees here. The kids are starting school. I'm working out all these travel plans for upcoming speaking engagements that I have. Just all of it, launching the new program that's coming out soon. I'm super excited about it. But we're in launch phase. We're planning how we're marketing and doing all those types of things. And I just felt very overwhelmed. And, I started talking to my husband, and there's some things going on in our family, not between me and my husband, but just more extended family. And I just started crying. And I just felt so like sad and angry. And, sometimes, I start this podcast out and I'm saying like, we're paving the way, we're the ones paving the way for those future generations. And sometimes I wish there was like someone paving the way for me. I was feeling really discouraged. Like, why do I have to be the one to figure it out? And I was going kind of, when I hear myself say that out loud, it's like, okay, I'm not the victim, and I'm very resourceful and I can ask questions. And, I was just like, I just wish when it comes to like business and some things in life sometimes, like that there was just somebody who could just tell me exactly what to do, the best way to do things. And I think sometimes that comes down to, God nudging us and like, he's like, I got this, and for us to really get in alignment with him. So I was there, I was kind of stuck in like a freeze, I was feeling a lot of stress. So remember, stress is um when we feel stressed, typically we go into fight or flight. Okay. So bear running after us or a tiger or an intruder, we're going to fight or we're going to run away. Okay. So fight or flight. And there's also freeze where we kind of decide, okay, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to run away. And literally, like, we freeze. We almost have an inability to move or act against the perceived threat. And then there's fawn. So fawn is the body's response to really try to please someone in order to avoid the conflict. So there's still like perceived danger, there's conflict, there's something going on. And the way that we approach that or address that is basically by trying to just please someone in that situation. So let's talk about a few of the things that go on in the body from a physiological standpoint when we are in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So when you're in fight mode, so your body feels that it's in danger and then it believes that you can overpower the threat. Okay. So you respond by being in fight mode. Okay. So your brain begins to release signals to your body that really begins to prepare it for the physical demands of fighting. Okay. So some things that you can notice in your body is like a tight jaw, grinding your teeth. You may have the urge to punch something or even someone. You may feel intense feelings of anger. Okay. So your body right now, when you're feeling that, it's experiencing a stress response there. You may feel like you need to stomp something, kick something. You may start crying, like crying in anger. I know that I've experienced that before. I've been so angry that I start crying, and it's almost like at the time, like it's almost embarrassing, because you're angry, but then you just start crying, but it's really like your body responding. You can start having a burning or knotted sensation in your stomach, or literally start attacking whatever the source of danger is. Okay. Now, with flight, this is where your body believes that you cannot overcome the danger and you go ahead and avoid it by running away. Okay. So you respond in the flight mode and you get surges of hormones like adrenaline. And this gives your body the stamina to run from the danger and get away. Okay. So this could be like some people do this because they excessively over or exercise. They may do that in response. It's literally like they feel like I've got to exercise all the time. It's not even just like for weight loss or fitness and things like that, but it's like they've got to get that stress out. Okay. Feeling fidgety, tense, trapped, like I need to go, like that feeling, or just like moving your legs, your arms, your body's restless. For some people, even they may experience some numbness in their arms and their legs. When you're in that flight where you want to run away, your eyes can also dilate so that you can see more and see better. So those would be some of the physical responses that happen with flight. Now, when it comes to freeze and fawn, those are stress responses that don't involve decisive actions. Okay. So you're like, okay, we're not going to fight. We're not going to run away. So freeze is literally the stress response that causes you to feel stuck in this place. Okay. And this is where your body is like, okay, we can't fight this and we can't run away from this. Okay. And you may have experienced like a sense of dread. For some people, their skin may get pale. They may feel stiff, cold, numb. Maybe the heart will start beating, or even the heart rate may go down, or sometimes they start scrolling social media and doing things like that, or just like or zone out with the TV, like you're experiencing stress, but it's like, it's more of just like a freeze, like I'm not going to do anything at all. And then fawn, this is the response um, that's used, and it can, you may have tried to fight, you may have tried to run away or even freeze, not do anything at all, but either one of those are unsuccessful. And you may already be a little bit conditioned to move right into this. Okay. So oftentimes this can happen to people that have been raised in abusive families or abusive situations. And I think there's also just some things in society itself where there's a lot of us that can move into this. So the signs of fawn would be like over agreement, like not speaking up and disagreeing, like not wanting to create that conflict, trying to be overly helpful is another sign of this. And then when your primary concern is making someone else happy. Okay, so that would be fawn. Okay, so we respond, our nervous system, our body responds by fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. Okay, and today I just was like in this freeze moment. Okay, and there might have been a little fawn in there as well, like thinking, um, and I had to, I make sure there's a few things that I do. Okay. So I make sure that I organize my life in a way that life is going to life. Okay. People are going to people, all those things are going to happen. So, one thing that you can do is prepare yourself by not putting too many things on your plate. So, on Fridays, I do administrative work and I also record podcasts on Fridays. Mondays reserved for days like that as well, although sometimes I will see clients on those days, okay? And then the middle of the week is really where I'm seeing clients and having all those conversations and doing different things, okay? So it was Friday, which was good. But this week, because I also knew family was in town, I saw most of my clients and patients on Monday and Tuesday, and then knew, okay, family's in town. I'm going to need a little more downtime, things like that. So I did have a lighter schedule throughout the rest of the week. So that was good. So when the kids were starting school this week, or the air conditioning going out, I had that flexibility in there. And I always try to not put too much. If something's, I think, is going to take an hour, I always make sure I have 2 hours to do it. If I'm doing something new for the first time, I always make sure to schedule even extra time in there to make sure that I get things done. Because I'm also one of those people, I like things done right. So it sometimes may take me a period of time the first time or the first go around. So I did prepare. So I had the flexibility to work through what I was dealing with, and I was experiencing just a lot of different emotions inside of myself. So when I find myself, I could see myself, okay, I'm starting to scroll social media. I'm like zoning out. I'm not going into my office to record the podcast. And I just don't feel like myself. So I knew right then, okay, I need to really pay attention to what's going on inside of me. Because at this point in time, I hadn't identified that I was like sad, or that part of me was angry about some things, or that I felt overwhelmed. So I had to like just pause and just ask myself, how are you feeling? So I did that, and I like waited to allow myself to feel those emotions, because I was kind of just not dealing with what was there. And it's amazing. There's a book. I cannot remember the name of it right now, but it talks about when we just allow ourselves to feel the feelings. It might be 30 seconds or it might be 45 or something like that. When we allow ourselves to experience sadness or grief or anger and really just be with it, those feelings will start to dissipate because we're honoring it. So, me just acknowledging that was really, really helpful. And then I needed to take some type of action or do something from there to help bring myself up. So, one of the things that I'm super excited about in the Hormone Compass program is that we have, and for those listening, I'll describe it. For those watching, I'll show you. But I have these emotional guidance kit. So it's like all these nice, fun cards, basically, that my clients will receive in their box. They get a lot of fun goodies. But these are things that basically the emotional guidance kit, it talks about the emotional scale that we're on. Okay. So when we're at a place of like fear, grief, depression, powerlessness, just moving up to maybe like discouragement actually feels better than feeling depressed, or then moving up to disappointment. It's easier to like move up the scale of our emotions versus just trying to jump to enthusiasm. Okay. There was no way this morning sitting on the couch, I was just going to jump to like, oh my goodness, life is amazing. And it is. But I needed to do things to help move myself up there in a way that makes sense. So one of the things my clients are going to get, like, let's say that you are at a place where you are angry. You have a card that says that you're angry, and then you flip it over and it's got like affirmations on the other side and then also actions to take. And I have one for all of the emotions, because sometimes when we're in that funk, we're just like, we forget, what am I supposed to do here? Like, how do I get myself to feel better? And it's like life keeps going, even when things happen in our lives. When I was going through my divorce from my previous husband, life kept happening. I had two little ones. Okay. They were 2 and 3 at that time. And I had to keep going. Like, I had to keep going to work. They had to keep eating and taking baths and being taken care of. So I had to learn, and I had to learn very quickly. Life is going to keep moving on no matter what's going on in our lives. There's been times when people have unfortunately passed away, and that's going to continue to happen in life. And we as women, we have to be able to honor our emotions and really see what's going on there, and then also be able to move forward and continue in our responsibilities and our things in life, because there are people that do depend on us. And like, even with this podcast, so one of the things that I did was I knew that my podcast manager needed the podcast so that they could move it into editing, right? So one of the first things that I did was that I reached out to her. I sent her a message and asked, what do you think about, what time do you need this by today? Because we actually hadn't talked about the exact time that she needed, but I knew. So that was like sitting in my mind, like, I've got to get this done for her. And I asked her, I said, does it matter if it's like 3 p.m. Eastern, or is it like 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern? Does it matter? And she was like, no, just get it to me tonight so that I have it tomorrow and they can move it into editing and things like that. So I was like, oh, okay, good. So sometimes we have to get in communication with people. Like, don't just avoid it, but also don't put too much pressure on ourselves or stress ourselves out. Some things can just be worked out in communication. So that helped me to know, okay, I've got that off of my plate. The other things that I like to turn to when I am super stressed out is, of course, God, like reminding me of some of my favorite scriptures, that he is working all things out for our good, that those that have been called according to his purpose. That is like such a good reminder. Or acknowledge him in all of your ways and he will direct your path. So when I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I just wish I had someone that could tell me, what to do in these different situations. It's like God has already told me that I just have to acknowledge him, and then he's going to direct my path. So some of those things are some of the reminders. The other things that I know for myself personally is turning on some music, journaling. Sometimes I just need to sit down and write out my entire to-do list and get it out of my head and onto some paper so that I can think better. Those are really important things. One thing that I can do to really move myself is to knock something on my to-do list, like a small task, or it doesn't even have to be in my to-do list. It could be like, there's some dishes in the sink, just a few of them. Let me go wash those really quick. And just doing that can get you like moving again, especially if you're stuck in that freeze mode like I was today, like literally like just scrolling social media, like irritated, judging some people, like doing all of that. I could have easily been stuck there all day. And there's been times in my life where it's just like, what just happened to my entire day or the last 3 hours, and a lot of times when I think back on that, oh, there was something going on, that was maybe stressful that I wasn't necessarily perceiving it as stress, but I was literally I was having a stress response of just kind of being frozen. So doing something can really help if whether it's going to fold some laundry. I know I'm not giving like the funnest examples here, or clearing off your desk. Those are my things, okay? Where I just sometimes need to clean up some spaces, but then that also helps clear out some things in my mind. Another thing that I did was, my husband came into the room and I talked to him. And it doesn't always start out where I'm just like, oh, this is everything going on. Cause sometimes I'm like, I don't want to be dealing with this right now. But then I tell him like, I just feel overwhelmed. And I told him like everything that was on my heart and on my mind. And that was helpful to be able to just get that off of my chest. I talked to a few girlfriends, and some of that was just like texting. Sometimes what I'll do is if I'm not feeling so good, I'll even call one of my friends. I won't even tell them necessarily that I'm not feeling good, but I just check on them, and then just hearing their voice or joking and laughing about things will help bring me up, and it's not to not share with them. Of course, I would if it's appropriate, but sometimes it's just like, you're just in a funk. It's not even like, let's hash this out or, it's just that whole concept of just like giving love, and then I'm receiving it back and it just feels really good. So those are really things that I do. So the main things were being compassionate with myself, acknowledging my emotions, not judging that I was feeling angry, overwhelmed, sad, like really being with that, really going to my affirmations, my scriptures, and taking action from there. And then tackling some little things to get me going. Getting in communication with my podcast manager was super helpful. So if you have some kind of project that's coming up, or you're unclear about deadlines around something, or you need just some help to be able to accomplish something for the day, as maybe life is crumbling a little bit, ask for help. If you're able to delegate to someone else, that can be super helpful. And then after that, I just decided that I needed some self-care. So since I had basically kind of I prepare my life in this way, for life to happen, I went out to eat. So I went by myself and I made sure not to be on my phone. I I'm very mindful that sometimes we can just overstimulate ourselves constantly with screens and technology and like input. And I knew, okay, I need a little bit of a break from that. So I went out to eat. I enjoyed like a really delicious meal. It was like this coconut Thai chicken, rice, and what else was in there? Some sweet potato hash. Like it was really good. So I had that. I did have it was this coconut cookie that I really enjoy from that restaurant. So I had one of those. And then I went to get my nails done. I went to get my toes done. And then I went to get an IV. And those were things that I had kind of been putting off all week. My family was in town. I didn't want to like run off and go have like a whole self-care day for myself. But I did today. My brother had left and I was like, okay, I need to do some things for me and have myself feel really good. So sometimes we just have to pause because that to-do list will be there tomorrow or later today. So right now, you guys, it's late here. Okay. It is the evening time. My children are in bed, all of them, the older ones. and my baby are in bed. And I was like, I'm just going to come down to my office this evening after I have dinner with my family and spend time and feel better so that I can really pour into my listeners and give you guys good content versus me being stressed out and trying to talk about test don't guess. So those are really important things to do. And I want you to know that being dysregulated, it's not a bad thing, okay? It's a sign that we are human and it will happen, okay? The issue becomes when we stay dysregulated. And that's where all the problems come in because our body is sensing this stress, okay? And there wasn't a invader. There wasn't a bear, there wasn't a tiger, but my body was stressed as if there was. Okay. So remember, and I've talked about this on other episodes, that our body doesn't know the difference between that bear coming after us or the stress or overwhelm that's in our life, whether it's coming from our family or things going on with the air conditioning in the house or something going on with our kids or our business or our work or some type of grief. Like our body doesn't know that, but it's responding and it's sending out the different hormones that we need, as if we're in this situation of needing to fight, flight, freeze, or then fawn. And we don't want to stay dysregulated, okay? And the reason is because that's when cortisol comes in, okay? So cortisol is that stress hormone. And what cortisol does, so cortisol is going to bring glucose levels up, okay? So let's think if you were in a situation, I've got to fight, I've got to run away, your body is going to need energy and it's going to do that through providing you with glucose, okay? And it's going to do that through gluconeogenesis, okay? So it's not even going to need you to eat anything. Your body is literally going to start breaking down your muscle or creating glucose from your liver, okay? So gluconeogenesis. So it's gonna produce its own glucose. Um, but the thing is with that is that every time glucose comes out, and let's say you're just sitting on the couch too, like you're not even running, you're not fighting, you're not burning this glucose out off, glucose is going to come up. Insulin needs to come out and lower that. Every time insulin comes out, that's a fat storing hormone, okay? And it causes your body to store fat specifically in the belly area, and that's toxic fat, okay? That's not where we want fat, and that's what will happen when there's chronic stress in our lives, okay? um, Excess cortisol levels over time that disrupts our energy levels. So a lot of times women that come to me, they don't have the energy to really get through their day without coffee, coffee in the morning, coffee in the afternoon, or different caffeinated teas and things like that. And they're tired a lot and really don't have energy. And then at nighttime, if cortisol is dysregulated at that time, it pops up. So a lot of my women, nighttime comes around, they're awake, scrolling through social media, maybe now got a burst of energy to do some work, different things like that, but still having almost like a wired but tired feeling. And the reason why that's not good is because there's a disconnection from the brain and the body, or there's dysregulation present there. Okay. So there's an interruption in that pattern from the brain body communication. And we want that to be regulated. Okay. It's not really good to be up at night because that's when your body needs to sleep and you need to rest and heal. Okay. So you may feel like, okay, I got all this energy, but you really got to heal. Okay. And you've got to rest. And it's really more helpful when you're awake and you have energy during the day, when that is the time when you are interacting with most of the people in your life. And it's important for quality time. I remember when I used to be exhausted all the time. It really was holding me back from being a good mother and being a good wife and being a good business owner and doing all the things that I really wanted to do because I didn't have energy. But my cortisol, those those levels and those patterns were really dysregulated there. The other thing about cortisol is that, let's say your body is perceiving there's a bear running after you and you've got to run or you've got to stop and try to kill the bear, fight it, your body at that point in time is not going to think this is a great time to have a baby. Okay, so that hormone progesterone, which is really important for helping you get pregnant and stay pregnant, it actually gets shunted away. Okay, so really your hormones get shunted to cortisol, or everything you need gets shunted to cortisol. Okay, so because at that point, when you're stressed, your body's like, no, we've got to give her cortisol. So your body will literally give you cortisol in lieu of the progesterone that you would need to get pregnant or stay pregnant, or even just regulate your cycles. Because a lot of women that listen to me, you're perimenopause or postmenopausal, you're not even thinking about having a baby. That point in time has gone away, and that is fine. However, there's a disruption in your hormones. Even so, okay? And progesterone is also that hormone that is anti-anxiety, it's calming, it is really relaxing, okay? It's like a natural Valium for you, okay? So it helps with sleep, all of those types of things, okay? So I hope you can see and hear how the stress and cortisol really disrupts your hormones, and then how you can end up with these different or these different symptoms and things like that. The other thing is that cortisol can cause some increased cravings for sweet, salty, fatty foods, things like that. And that's because, like, I've even noticed sometimes, like, if I'm stressed, or let's say that I am in this situation where I'm having a disagreement and my stomach's getting in those knots, like, I'm starting to get hungry here. It's because those your body signaling, like, okay, we need some energy here because we're in this stressful situation. So that's how come when we talked about earlier, those unhealthy coping patterns, a lot of this is like, so what came first, the chicken or the egg? And I would really say there's probably a lot involved. There could be some gut issues, there could be toxins and all of those types of things. I always have to say that because I truly believe everything is so connected. And that's really why I take a holistic approach with women, because it's not just one thing. However, when it comes to our stress hormones and cortisol, it really does affect us in many, many ways. Most women end up needing targeted supplementation to really reset that mind-body connection. Okay, what's going on with the brain, how the brain's interpreting stress and what's going on, and resetting those cortisol patterns. So you can do a lot of things that can really help relax you. Okay. So I talked about a lot of the things that I did today, where I just wrote out the list of things that I needed to do. I talked to someone, I called some friends, I laughed, I joked, I was compassionate with myself, all of those types of things. But I want to tell you about some different grounding techniques that you can do as well. Okay. So you can mentally ground, you can physically ground, and then you can do some grounding techniques that are just very soothing in general. Okay. So you can focus on your environment around you. Like if you're sensing stress or anxiety, like literally, like focus on what's around you. Cause sometimes you or me, we can get really stuck in what's going on inside of our mind or whatever we're thinking about. And sometimes, or if you're triggered, this is really good as well. Really pay attention to, like, okay, my desk, I'm touching my desk right now. It's wooden. I see the light that's on the wall, or I'm outside. I see the trees and I see the bark and it's brown, like identifying what's going on. Or I have on a blue dress right now and I have a gold necklace and I have this mic here. That can really get you out of like what's going on in the brain and get you focused on like the here and now, being very present. Another thing that can be helpful is going to your scriptures, your affirmations, your songs, poetry, anything like that. Having statements, and this is something that we teach in our program, for everyone to create their center of truth. Because oftentimes, like what was happening with me today, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling a little angry. And then really what I was feeling was alone. I was feeling alone and like There's no one here to like guide me. I always have to figure everything out by myself. But that was a triggered point for me, okay? Whenever you go to a feeling of like, I am alone, I am bad, I am wrong, I'm in danger, like, and there's not actual danger, like I'm not safe, like there's usually you're being triggered about something. So, and that's a younger part of yourself. It was a younger part of me today. So I have to come in and remind myself, I'm 40 years old and I'm resourceful. And I have to remind myself like what is the truth? And the truth is that I'm always supported by all of life. And God is always working all things out for my good, but when I'm in that triggered state, it's harder to do that. So really finding your center of truth, like reminding yourself of what the truth is, and having, the helpful cards here are very helpful. I pull out my own cards that I created for my clients, looking at those, and I'm like, oh, these are so good. But having those and then creating those for yourself as well can be super helpful. Other things that you can do, like to mentally ground yourself, are doing like mental calculations, like focusing on like, okay, 4 + 4 is 8, things like that can be helpful. And then also visualize yourself overcoming your fears. So if there's something that you're afraid of, once you get yourself into a centered state, you can take it further to seeing yourself accomplishing things, seeing life going well, versus everything that we can create in our minds about what's going on in the world right now, what's going on with our family, with our friends, with our work. Like really visualize ourselves winning. That can be very helpful. And there's no danger in that, Um it's really about moving ourselves up and feeling good about life and enjoying the moment. Then you can physically ground yourself. You can focus on breathing, like actually paying attention to how you're breathing. One thing I always like to teach is box breathing. So that's where you take a deep breath in and you hold it for 4 seconds, and then you release it. And you release it for an entire 4 seconds, and then you hold it again. I always like to demonstrate this with people. So go ahead and take a deep breath in, hold, release, hold, deep breath in, hold, release, hold, deep breath in, and then just breathe normally. Okay. So breathing, like focusing on that, can be a way to physically ground yourself. Again, and you, before we talked about mentally grounding yourself, where you're looking and you can see different things. Like I see my computer screen, I see my black pen. You can also say, okay, I see my drink here, or you can see your drink, but then you can touch it, like really like bring yourself into the present moment. You can put your feet on the ground, like your heels, like physically connect to the ground. And you can really just start moving through your body, like noticing your wrist and your fingers and moving up to your elbows and things like that. Those are things that can really ground you because they take your mind off from what's going on. And these things also help to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. So your sympathetic nervous system was that fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Okay. That's your sympathetic. That's cortisol pumping out. So we want to do things that relax you. Okay. So your parasympathetic nervous system is like rest, digest, those types of things. Okay. So really getting yourself in more of a relaxed state will help activate that and pull you out of that, because you don't want that cortisol just going off all day. Okay. And then there's just soothing things, having your affirmations, your scriptures. That's what I did. today, treating yourself to something comfortable or joyful. So I went and had me a nice healthy meal. And then I also had one of my favorite cookies as well. I didn't overdo it because we talked about going for it. And I also did not do it while I was in that stress state. I did not go into the kitchen to eat. I've had to create productive ways to deal with stress, because otherwise we go for all the things, the sugar, the carbs, the salty foods, the tobacco, the drinking, like all of those types of things. And all of those things in moderation, most of them, they're okay, but we don't want, because life is gonna life, every time stressful things happen, that's our way of coping. So I'm hoping that the things that I'm giving you today can help you create a new plan for yourself, because you have to plan for these types of things. Okay. And that's why I created the cards for my clients. So you don't, I've already done it for you. But having those things in place can be super helpful. Okay. So I did treat myself, but I was no longer in that stress state. And then I just really, even when I went to get the IV, like I just laid there, they gave me my little oxygen and put the IV in, and I'm in this nice massage chair, and I put it on the relax and playing the music, and I really just relaxed. Like I went into my happy place. So those are some of the soothing things that you can do. I want you to know that you're not alone in the stress and the overwhelm and the things that you feel in life. Okay. It happens to all of us. Okay. And sometimes there are major things that happen, things that knock us over, divorce and death and bankruptcy and losing jobs and being laid off. And then sometimes there's just like a lot of little things that add up and they feel so big, and they are in that moment. And it's okay to really acknowledge that and how it's affecting you. And what I want you to do is powerfully move through those things. So I'm hoping that this was helpful. Make sure to download and save this one. And just know, like, life is always working out for you. Okay. God is always working all things. He didn't say some things, He said all things out for your good. Okay. So today we talked about the current stress in my life: fight, flight, freeze, fawn, which hormones get affected. I should give you guys a quiz on that. And then different techniques that you can do to just pull yourself out of that moment, like, because once you do that, like you're like reminded, because you, listener who's listening right now, you are so powerful. Okay. You are so amazing and you are so capable. You've got this, okay? God will never put more on you than you can bear, okay? So I just want you to be encouraged, okay? And don't, life is going to life, but you can be prepared for it and be able to move through it. And there are people that want to support you. And I know sometimes it might not feel that way, okay? But there really are. So when you have those good people in your life, hold on to them. Give them a call. Like, even after listening to this, give them a call, thank them, appreciate them, because they are there. There's a lot of good people in the world. We just have to find each other. That's the thing. So thank you so much for listening today. Thank you so much for listening this season. This is our season 10 episode here. We are coming back with a new season. We'll have some things in between to keep you entertained. But thank you so much. This has been such an incredible journey. It has been such an experience. I've enjoyed having so many guests on the show. We've talked about love, health, wealth, career, leadership, mindfulness. It's been really fun. And I hope that the content has been super helpful for you. So go ahead in the comments, like, tell me what has been your favorite takeaway, either from this episode or from a different episode that you listened to. Go ahead and leave in the comment maybe some things or people that you want me to bring on the show for next season. I would love to hear your feedback. You can always reach out to us at support@dralicianewsome.com. Let us know your thoughts. And always remember to like, share, do all the things, okay? Because that really helps us grow. It helps us get all of this information out to more women. And my goal is really to empower you. I want to create community and connection. And when you share the podcast and you do all of those things, it helps me out in my life mission. And I appreciate you for that. I appreciate all of my listeners. You guys have given me such great feedback, and I love hearing from you. And I will be back with more content.